As basically everyone on the internet has been talking about the creative pandemic of sorts in the form of remakes in Hindi cinema, I thought it would be interesting to go down memory lane on how the trend to plagiarize cinema has been a habit that has lasted for decades in the Hindi film industry. But today it's restricted to our own creations. Classic music is being recreated as most of the songs are wholly owned by record labels, sometimes even without the consent of the original creators, shockingly in some cases even when they don't have the rights of the song. There was a time where Bollywood would get away with the lack of awareness when it came to copyright laws and the limited exposure the Indian audience had with international cinema. But there have been some praiseworthy remakes which have adapted stories well for an Indian contextual standpoint. There have been some train wrecks that are best left forgotten, but are hilarious guilty pleasures as well, coming in the category of so bad that it's good. So here is Tried&Refused Productions with the worst examples of the copy-paste era of Bollywood movies. AATANK. A movie that was released several years later after its production was the 1996 film AATANK. A film shot in the mid-1980s focused on a coastal village that depends on fishing as their livelihood, where the main focus of the story is the oppressive and inhumane practices of a gangster on the underprivileged of the village, and how greed takes over the antagonist as he comes to know about the black pearls being discovered in the water body. The film abruptly shifts focus on searching for a missing person and a man-eating shark that is directly inspired from the 1975 Steven Spielberg directed film Jaws. A creative choice that was absolutely unnecessary, especially owing to the tension not built up around the terror created by the animal. Jaws became the phenomena that it was due to the eerie pitch, unpredictability of the animal, and the haunting soundtrack that accompanied it throughout its running minutes. In 1975, the creators had the ability to make the shark look convincing, but our edition, with its choppy execution, will make you roll on the floor laughing. I'll show you a scene in reference so you can get a picture of the horrible editing in the film. Explain me this scene. Yes, the conclusion is any movie which has several production issues and gets delayed will always have a tragic end product. Adventures of Tarzan. Regarded as one of the biggest embarrassments in international cinema, Tarzan the Ape Man, directed by John Derek, which released in 1981, was remade in Bollywood by the title Adventures of Tarzan in 1985. The original film was made with the sole intention of launching Bo Derek's career in cinema, who was the director John Derek's fourth wife. This was even more apparent as the posters and marketing of the film were all focused on Bo Derek's character, to be honest, just her body, rather than Tarzan. The funny part is the movie barely has Tarzan. The film was famous for winning multiple Razzies, awards given for worst performances in cinema, and more or less came across as softcore porn. For many, due to the sexual innuendos it showcased regarding incest as well as animals copying a field due to intrigue. The film was so bad that the creators of the iconic character even sued for its horrific final product. Coming to the Bollywood remake now, the reason for why a generation fell in love or fantasized about Kimi Katkar was the 1985 remake. The film is made with the sole intention of riling up the audience with its steamy sequences. From a story standpoint, it comes across as dull and extremely cringy, especially when you see the interaction between Katkar and Tarzan, played by a poker face Hemant Birje.
R for Ruby. Ruby. Mary Ruby. Mary Ruby. Ruby.
My Tarzan.
Mary Ruby. Mary Ruby. Mary Ruby.
My Tarzan.
Mary Ruby.
The only takeaway being its music, which can never really rescue a film from a disastrous premise. This one definitely tests your patience on whether you can come out on the other end as a sane person. PAPI GUDIA. The Karishma Kapoor horror film that released in 1996 was a poor man's remake of the 1988 iconic film Child's Play. The premise of both the films is same. What happens when the spirit of a serial killer gets inside a popular doll and into the lives of a household? Credit where credit is due, the remake gets its initial concept of the serial killer on the run in the form of a creepy Shakti Kapoor playing the role of Channi, a child abductor and killer, aptly fitting the tone of the eerie premise of the original, and it all goes downhill from there. Everyone, at least film fans, know the face of Chucky, a sinister and creepy looking doll that gave an entire generation nightmares, fearing even the sight of dolls. But when this spine chilling doll transforms into this expressionless and docile doll in the Hindi remake, it makes sense why the scares and the goosebump generating introduction went downhill. The brilliance of the picturization of Child's Play was that the doll would be animated in his actions, would walk like a little child, hold a dagger like a killer, but there was little effort made into translating the same features into the remake. Follow that with extremely loud performances and honestly unintentionally hilarious action scenes involving an immobile and expressionless doll. This remake turned out to be a forgettable and hilarious attempt at a horror film.
Wow!
BICHHOO. The Bobby Deol and Rani Mukherjee starrer is a remake of the 1994 thriller Leon the Professional directed by Luc Besson. Now hear me out, you BICHHOO fans out there. When you see the film in context to how they ripped off the idea from the original and completely butchered the epic film, you will understand my disappointment. I'll just reference a few creative examples to substantiate my point. The film takes the same idea of how a hitman protects a girl as her family has been killed by corrupt officials, and in this process the hitman trains the girl so that she can avenge the death of her family. Firstly, the regressiveness, even in its remake, is baffling, where Leon talks about his past in Italy by stating how he wanted to elope with a rich girl and her father got to know about the relationship and killed her. Leon took revenge and killed the father and fled to New York. That was the story. Now, how does this Bollywood movie remake this? Well, Bobby and Malaika are in love. How does a Desi father make sure this union never happens? He frames the boy's family, which includes his mother and sisters, that they are involved in a prostitution racket, so that they get shamed by society and eventually commit suicide. The shame is so much that the girlfriend also commits suicide. Secondly, the pitch. The movie showcases Rani Mukherjee shouting throughout the film. It is definitely her loudest and most cringe-worthy performance.
मैं इसे मारूंगी! बाथरूम का है!
Bobby Deol, on the other hand, literally with the most deadpan expressions I have ever seen on celluloid. Then it also made me wonder, why the hell is this movie called BICHHOO? Oh, he pets a scorpion. What does this have to do with the film? Nothing. Why name it BICHHOO? The original has one of the most bone-chilling performances by Gary Oldman as the antagonist, a corrupt, pill-popping, trigger-happy drug enforcement agent. BICHHOO might be a guilty pleasure, but it's a horrible remake. MAZAA. A fun guilty pleasure rom-com was the 2004 film 13 Going on 30. A film which was a humble reminder of how the aspirations of a 13-year-old are often temporary and shallow, and how a character comes to that realization after experiencing what she thought she always wanted when she turns 30, with the help of fairy dust. Now, how can you create the same concept with some creative variations to get away with plagiarism? Make a B-grade sleazy film titled MAZAA and make it about the fantasy of a 15-year-old girl. This 2005 Payal Rohde starrer is painful filmmaking at its best. A film just created for cheap thrills with little to no care about the storyline or the performances. Most of the sequences in the film include double meaning dialogues, as it simply caters to that audience. An example of that is this.
You're very sweet. अब अपन तुमको चॉकलेट देगा, बड़ा चॉकलेट. Yeah.
An original rom-com turned into a sleazy revenge thriller is a sorry sight to witness. I dare you to go through this film. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about these movies and whether you have some video ideas for our channel. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.